you are as a person. And then that illumination that comes through of it in recognizing and being you. There's nothing cooler than being yourself. And that's like a mantra that I've always anchored from and has come through in a breathing practice. Like, wow, just be yourself.
Yeah. Being authentic is the best way to live, in my opinion. All right, guys, Sam Whiting here today. We're going to talk health and wellness and Lumati. And you got the fancy water bottle. Thanks for coming on, man.
You're vitality illuminated. It's great to be here with you, Sean. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Yeah, for sure. How's your trip in Vegas been so far?
I'd say interesting.
That's always how it is.
I've driven through before and, a lot of stimulus.
Yeah.
And that's really also what I find, like, that's the art and science of life. There's so much stimulus happening all the time. And here we are, going into 2025, living the modern life. And what a unique place to be in.
Yeah. There's a lot going on here. Yeah, especially at the casinos.
Yeah.
A lot of like smoke.
The strip and, well, so that's something interesting. This whole time here and wanting to get here to settle in and looking forward to our conversation. Like, there's this theme within longevity and looking at human vitality and wellness of the exposome, what we're getting exposed to in our environments. And wow, to walk through a casino and they have the filtration and everything, but people are just smoking, ripping dukes, walking through the casino. And then I was even looking at the rug and, people are spilling drinks, the mold that's proliferating there. So quite an impact on the physiology too.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got the mold, you got the lighting from the machines, and each casino has their own scent that they inject into the air to make you feel a certain way. Yeah. So they have it all down to a science. The hallways are not straight lines, they're curves because they don't want you to leave.
Little adventure when you step into those spaces. And
yeah.
A lot of that's also with dopamine and the way that's impacting you and keeping you in that space, the hook to want to continue and chase that rabbit.
Absolutely. Yeah. They call it dopamine brain these days with the TikTok and the scrolling.
The molecule of more.
Yeah. I'm pretty aware of how it's changed me over the years, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, in the framework of what I like to explore in human potential, possibility, how we're stepping into wellness, how we're living our lives is this framework of understanding human behavior. And when you understand mechanism and mechanics, you become deeply empowered to steer your state of being in real time. And so understanding the environments you're placing yourself into and what the power of intention. I think really the gift of any practice or what you're doing intentionally is that you build an awareness. So it doesn't matter if you're doing breath work or if you're drinking hydrogen water, if you're going into light therapy or whatever technology, whatever practices, yoga that you're engaging with, if you're creating a container of intentionality, it births this illumination of awareness to begin building a deeper understanding of yourself.
Right.
And really that's a big thesis in my work, exploring human potential. I like to call it a holistic, Hormetic approach to wellness, health, and longevity. And it really encapsulates our physiology, our psychology, and then in the core of it is ourself. And balancing on that is the autonomic nervous system, understanding arousal, sympathetic energy, alertness, parasympathetic calm, sleep. And within that holistic approach is then all of these different elements. And it boils down really to stimulus, circadian rhythm, the way we're engaging with light. Being in the casino, getting all of that light stimulus at 2 a.m, that has a large impact on our circadian rhythms.
Yep.
And to that oscillation that's happening from moment to moment. I mean, I'm always fascinated of just like what's happening with these trillions of cells in our body and the external environments we're engaging with to then how that's impacting our inner environment. And really it becomes this opportunity to continue building an understanding of our nature.
Yeah, I like that you encompass everything, not just physical health, because a lot of people think just going to the gym is enough.
Yeah, well, this landscape's expanding. Like the whole theme of longevity is becoming such a popular word. On the scientific side of things, I'm very fascinated in understanding this. And science takes time, but there's now this greater body of work called geroscience, which is the understanding, or call it longevity. My friend, Dr. Alyssa Appel, who's at UCSF, is really one of the leading.
All right, guys, Sean Kelly here, host of the Digital Social Hour podcast. Just filmed 33 amazing episodes at Student Action Summit. Shout out to Code Health, sponsor of these episodes, but also I took them before filming each day. Felt amazing. Just filmed 20 episodes straight and I'm not even tired, honestly. So Code Health, amazing products. I also take these at home, especially when I traveled. I used to get sick every time I flew, and I started taking that. First time, I haven't had a runny nose, knock on wood. One standout element, it's so easy. You got the travel pack here, but you could just take this, fit it in your pocket if you need to. Also, all natural, like only saline solution in there. So you don't got to worry about any crazy side effects or anything. Yeah, Code's unique. With supplements, there's a lot of who knows what's in those ingredients. Code Health, I haven't seen much like this, where it's just based off the codes that are in the saline solution. So I would say they're very unique. It's going to be the future of health and medicine. Code Health has been awesome.
Feel the drop and go code yourself.
Longevity scientists and looking at what we call hormesis or hermetic stress versus toxic stress and being in that chronic stress state. And we're now seeing the impact that that's having on cell health and thus our longevity.
Wow.
It really boils down to what are those acute little doses of stress? Eustress, it's good stress that's building a sense of resilience. And I think that's also one of the most beautiful things about the human spirit, the human being, is that we are adaptable and we're resilient. So placing ourselves again intentionally into environments, understanding that behavioral sequence of our day as to how are we expanding in capacity and opening ourselves up to awe and this feeling of aliveness and vitality. And really that's what we're encapsulated in the thesis at Lumati and what we're doing with our mission to want to impact 1 billion lives by 2035 and making this work accessible to people.
Yeah.
Whether it's a physical space or things that you have at home and a framework. That's why we've built our app to even help people with creating that schedule and having a sense of accountability, routine, but there also, as we know, with the brain needs to be a sense of spontaneity. The brain is predictive and it's always taking in this information. But if we get too much into a routine, it sort of becomes a rut. And then we're in this sense of neuroplasticity where then how do we change and continue to send those little hormetic doses of stimulus that are building capacity for ourselves? And it's really adaptive capacity. I like to say true readiness is your ability to respond in the moment. If you're ready, are you ready to not be ready? And that's why the ice bath is such a beautiful mirror and a powerful tool, because every day is going to be different. And how are you engaging with the stimulus? How are you engaging with the stressor to then ultimately let that be a training ground to step out into the frontier of life that has all of these things coming at you that are unexpected. And you've been doing the training and you've built the skill to respond.
Right. Did you get into ice baths because of Wim Hof?
Well, it really started when I was a kid. I grew up in nature. I was blessed to have that with my family, 600 acres of conservation land.
Whoa.
I was out climbing trees, riding my bike, and nature always was a huge part of my fascination, and going to wilderness camps as a kid. And from there, I met counselors who talked about, different mystic arts like Tai Chi. I remember practicing Tai Chi when I was 6 years old on VHS tape and just being curious. And I saw Wim Hof actually on Ripley's Believe It or Not when I was 8 or 10 years old. He was doing one of his Guinness World Records, and just seeing these feats that people were doing that always captivated me to consider for myself, what can I do that's bigger than me? And at the time I was competing as an elite alpine ski racer and competing at a high level. I was exposed to a lot of different training, agility, strength training. There's a lot that goes into competing at those levels.
Yeah.
And through that progression, I had some burnout and decided to retire. And as I got exposed to new modalities like yoga, I really found this fascination in this quality of leadership. And it wasn't really about being in the yoga room and doing the poses, but it was what the teacher or the instructor, at least this style and this community I was a part of, they were creating a space for people to recognize their greatness. And growing up struggling with reading and math and having my own personal challenges in those regards when it.
The Tri-Light from Therasage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light, deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Light from Therasage and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared from 580 to 980 nanometers. Optimal penetration, enhanced energy, skin rejuvenation, pain relief, better performance, quicker recovery, and so much more. Therasage has been leading the game for over 25 years, and this panel is FDA listed and USB powered. Ultra soft and flexible and ultra portable. On-body red light therapy I use daily and I take it everywhere I travel. This is the Thera O3 ozone module from Therasage. It's a portable ozone and negative ion therapy in one. It boosts oxygen, clears and sanitizes the air, and even helps your mood. It's a total game changer at home or on the go. This little device is the Thera O3 ozone module by Therasage, and it's one of my favorite wellness tools. In the sauna, it boosts ozone absorption through your skin up to 10 times, oxygenating your blood and supporting deep detox. Outside the sauna, it purifies the air, killing germs, bacteria, viruses, and mold, and it improves mood and sleep with negative ion therapy. It's compact, rechargeable, and perfect for travel, planes, offices, hotel rooms, you name it. It's like carrying clean energy wherever you go. This is the Thera H2 Go from Therasage, the only bottle with molecular hydrogen structured water and red light in one. It hydrates, energizes, and detoxes water upgraded. The Thera H2 Go from Therasage isn't just a water bottle. It's next level hydration. It infuses your water with molecular hydrogen, one of the most powerful antioxidants out there. That means less oxidative stress, more energy, and faster recovery. But here's what makes it stand out. It's the only bottle that also structures your water and adds red light to supercharge it. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
And to also competitive athletics, the competition anxiety, the burnout, like every season I would get sick because it was just like so much pressure I felt. And it felt like a relief to let go of that. And as I stepped into the yoga room, started kind of connecting these dots, meditation, the self-reflection, getting to know my nature. It allowed me to then have my own transformations, letting go of anxiety, continuing to grow within myself. And from there, it felt like this palpable call to want to serve others and share. I find that with a lot of leaders and teachers, they've had their own transformational experiences that lead them to want to then share with others. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to then step out into the world as what is a being of service and creating that access for others to see themselves and to continue to grow, to heal, to thrive.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I've been looking into yoga this week because I just got an MRI done and I have arthritis in my back and neck and scoliosis. So they were saying yoga could potentially help with that.
Yeah, these pieces of mobility. I mean, even to breath work, like that's one of the things that that's really what drew me into yoga, that quality of ujjayi breath. It's a slight restriction in the glottis. It's a resonant breath. It's a very regulated breath. And vinyasa in its nature means linking breath with movement. And that pulled me into the practice. That brought me back to then wanting to go and continue the practice and thus then feeling the call to want to teach. And so breath really was always the anchor. And it is an anchor within ourselves. What I'm getting to within this is, as I progressed in exploring the patterns, the practices, what really turned me on was the science of breath. And looking at the physiology of respiration, the diaphragm is really a partition between the abdominal and thoracic cavity. It's our primary breathing muscle, but it's not just doing the movement for air to come in and out of the lungs. It's some of the muscle of the diaphragm is also connected to L3, L4 of the lower spine, and it's our primary balance muscle.
Wow.
And so I'm very bullish on strong breathing muscles. The biomechanics of breath play a huge component to our overall health and wellness.
That's crazy. I never would imagine that it would be connected to balance.
Yeah.
Breath work.
Strong breathing muscles, a strong, robust diaphragmatic movement. Think when fighters are engaging, throwing punches, the stabilization, like it's connected to all things. How we're speaking, how we're swallowing, it's so responsive and robust. It's one of the most foundational, fundamental behaviors, if you consider that breath is
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.
behavior. I think when someone gets surprised, there's an expression of breath.
Right.
Or emotion and its connection. It's really so multi-layered within the brain and how that's connecting to our state of being. There's a state of being for a state of breathing, and our state of breathing also impacts our state of being.
Yeah, so breath work's super important then.
Yeah, like its connection to balance, to the spine. A lot of people, we're modern humans, we're seated a lot. How our posture affects the diaphragmatic movement, that can cause tightness in the back. But it's also a pump. It's helping to aid peristalsis and digestion. It's massaging. Robust diaphragmatic movements are massaging the vital organs.
Yeah.
The blood flow. The cerebral spinal fluid, as it's contracting, it's pumping that up through the brain. It's connected to the circulatory system. So, it's not that there's one thing that's going to save or change somebody's life. I think they choose to change their life through the actions and behaviors that they take on. But indeed, breath as a foundational behavior, that's a great starting point.
Absolutely. And then you could get fancy with it. I did some oxygen therapy, those chambers.
Yeah, a hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah. So I did a brain scan at Amen Clinics, and I had a TBI. So one of the
from an accident? Or?
I don't remember. It must have been when I was super young. But anyways, they told me to do the chambers as part of like the healing.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I got another scan done last month. It's completely gone.
Fantastic.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, glad to hear that.
And I hear that from a lot of fighters and boxers and athletes as well.
Yeah, football players and just head injuries, TBI, concussion.
Hyperbarics are powerful.
I've seen some literature on hyperbaric being very helpful for that. There's continued emerging literature about how to support that process of healing.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some literature on hydrogen as well. Not just hydrogen water, but hydrogen inhalation.
Really?
And so at our clinic at Lumati, we have a suite of different modalities, but hooking somebody up to a cannula and you're inhaling hydrogen.
So you're inhaling water?
No, the gas.
Oh, the gas.
Yeah, the gas hydrogen. So,
okay.
Molecular hydrogen is H2. Hydrogen on the periodic table is the first element. It's the smallest element. Some scientists and people in that whole realm of literature call it the God molecule. It's the smallest thing. Like, you could go to the cosmos to then the physiology.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's within us. And it's so unique to see at a clinical setting that in most of the literature, it's between 1 to 4 liters per minute of hydrogen inhaled. Some of them are very long-term inhalations, like they did 18 hours, but the clinical dose seems to be 20 to 60 minutes of between 1 to 4 liters per minute of hydrogen. They looked at it with ischemic stroke, cardiovascular events, but it's moving through the body in a unique way. It kind of scavenge through the cells to impact oxidative stress, inflammation. It can cross the blood-brain barrier, so they're looking at its impact on neuroinflammation. And some of this research was done in animals, but to the brain specifically, as we're talking about here, they looked at a rat that had brain damage, and then they gave it the treatment of high-dose hydrogen, and the tissue just
holy crap!
It's amazing to see the comparative slices of the tissue and see how impactful it is at healing.
Wow, I definitely need to look into that. I've never heard of neuroinflammation, so the brain can get inflamed.
Yeah,
is that from stress?
Stress, environment, how we're engaging and behaviorally the things that we're exposing ourselves to, and so what are these different tools that we can utilize to help continue to support balance and wellness, vitality? At Lumati, we call it biostasis. You often hear homeostasis, but life stasis is sort of this bigger picture perspective, and how we can build an understanding of what is happening. Maybe it was something that we experienced in childhood, an event, an accident, and the body responds and heals, but then there's still that little whisper of damage that happens.
Right.
So what we have a starting point of doing biometrics. Similarly, going to get scans, we have bioenergetic scanning devices that every organ, every cell in the body has a certain frequency. And we use this bioenergetic platform that scans the body over 1,000 metrics that we can look at, from minerals to the health of organs to the DNA. And then we can tune them with frequency. But firstly, we get a roadmap of understanding from a biometric perspective. A lot of the work we do at Lumati is non-invasive. So we're using scanners that look at your stroke volume of your heart, your HRV, to density of hemoglobin in your blood. And from there, we're ultimately looking at what's in the body that shouldn't be there, what's not in the body that should be there, and how efficient is your cellular energetic system, your metabolics. And working through this biostasis stack from the biometrics to then we're able to go in and bio-recharge or bio-detox first. What can we take out? And how do we reset the system, the immune system, the physiology? There's some continued emerging technology. I think that's the beauty of modern times, is how AI, how visionaries and innovators are able to now be disruptively stepping into the human body and helping to support wellness.
Yeah.
One of that I'm very excited about that's emerging and really just starting is blood filtering technology. And so there's this clinical data now that's coming out that by getting hooked up to this blood filter, we're deploying this going into 2025 on a global scale to make this accessible to people, that the preliminary clinical data is showing that it can remove not only bacteria from the body and viruses, but circulating tumor cells, stacked with this filter, with the ability to also remove glyphosate, microplastics, and forever chemicals.
That's powerful.
And so that's one of our big sides of work at Lumati, is in supporting people, making this type of technology accessible, that we can reset and detox the body as a starting point after understanding what's happening from a biometric perspective, and then be able to go into bio-recharge and utilize light technologies or amplifying frequencies that tune and tone the organ systems. Traditional Chinese medicine, the ancient wisdoms, it's like the blending of ancient with modern science and together now. Like, what a fascinating time that we now have accessibility and contribution from science and visionaries, but then these whispers from eternity, if you will, that, they've already known all along, these simple things that you can do to be able to continue to support that sense of balance in the body.
Yeah.
And circulation, what organ isn't functioning at its optimal level, and how can we boost that and bring you back to your optimal self, your most vital self.
That is so cool. I love how you're mixing both modalities. Yeah, the light stuff is fascinating, because if you look at scans of like tumors, there's no light going through the organ, right?
Yeah, well, what I was talking about before with Dr. Alyssa Appel's work, with this whole perspective of geroscience, and specifically to now longevity, you can now get a biological age, and they call that Horvath's clock. There's a lot of different metrics, and science takes time indeed. So there's not a definitive scientific agreement on like what is it exactly that is giving us a clear picture of what our inner age is. But the real consensus right now is mitochondrial health, inflammation, telomeres, and our epigenome. And to what you're speaking about with light technology, the emerging data on that is, and the continued conversations that I hear from leaders in the space are about this mitochondrial health, and how do we continue to support that, to consider from this exposome perspective of toxins and things that are impacting us. Glyphosate, it's currently being found at 2 parts per billion in rain even.
Gee.
And we know that glyphosate totally destroys the gut microbiome, but it also kills mitochondria.
Wow.
The powerhouse of the cell, this engine of creating vital energy for the body. And what I love about the research that's emerging on light technologies, red light, but also full spectrum light, is that it's helping to stimulate the cell and cultivate that proliferation of ATP for mitochondria.
Beautiful. That is crazy. I got memories of me as a kid just drinking the rainwater, like sticking my tongue out, and now there's glyphosate in it, and that's being absorbed through the skin, right?
Yeah, the skin, or from water on the skin, or in things that we're drinking and foods that we're eating. it's all around us.
Is there a way to, are we in too deep on the glyphosate, or is there a way to kind of get rid of it, you think?
It's a good question. I think that conversation is continuing to become more of a norm. I mean, we're seeing those shifts. Somebody like RFK, who's been a huge proponent of environmental protection and now understanding its implications on health. Leaders like Dr. Zach Bush, who's been very inspiring to this message of humans coming back to that remembering of seeing beauty and finding meaning, and this continuous cycle that we're on, that, you know, the path as we continue to walk it is wreaking havoc and impacting us.
Right.
A lot of his research was done about microbiome and the impact glyphosate is having on that. But there are like subtle and simple ways of coming. He created his own supplement, which is helping to. It's called Intelligence of Nature.
Yeah.
And what they've seen clinically with that, it's fulvic acid, this terahydrite mixture that has fulvic acid in it, and that's helping to strengthen the tight junctions in the gut lining. And glyphosate is breaking all of that down. So there are things, external tools like those supplements that can help. Now with this emerging data from the blood filtering technology that we're deploying, that you can remove it from the blood.
Yeah.
And then being aware of where environments that you're putting yourself in, and hopefully then large organizations and leaders in the space that are helping to push back on that. I mean, isn't it how crazy? It's interesting to consider the impact of wanting to beautify our lawn and kill off weeds that, or spray certain foods, and what's that now at more of a macro impact to human life, and to not just human life, but to general humanity and the planet.
For real. I remember using Raid as a kid just on insects, and it's like, why was I even doing that? You know, it's an insect killer, right?
Yeah. I mean, all these little things that maybe are like easy access to what is our perception of our home and taking care, that it's actually having a negative impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like even with my home now, I don't want any pesticides.
How do we keep getting closer to nature? I mean,
yeah. The trade-off is we just had a lot of, we have a pomegranate tree and there was a lot of spiders and stuff all over the place, but I'd rather eat as natural as possible, you know?
Stay close to nature.
Yeah.
That's how I seek to live my life. And I think there's something important about that. We get so removed and disconnected from it. I don't share that in knocking like the modern world. We're blessed to have technology, and how can we deliberately utilize it and engage with it while also maintaining that sense of balance and connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. When I go to farmers markets, I feel so like happy. You know, I just feel in touch with nature.
Yeah. And being in a city, was coming to Vegas and being around all the stimulus as we started talking about here. And I mean, I live pretty remote in nature, and waking up, having my own routine to get my bare feet on the ground, natural light on my skin to start the day with a breathwork practice. And, you know, there's a natural polarity, our connection to the earth. Then, of course, we do have technologies like PMF and how that can help ground and recharge the body. This bioenergetic work is interesting because I like to imagine it metaphorically like a battery. And consider with your cell phone, if you're out driving and you're on, the back roads, but you have very low service, your phone starts to use a lot of energy to try to get that signal. And it's similarly to the organs. If there's not a good signal communicating from the heart or from other organs through the nervous system to the body, it's starting to use a lot of energy to try to communicate and send those messages. And just like when you're out on those hills trying to have that phone call, your battery depletes very quickly. So to this whole theme of back to nature, by grounding the body, utilizing technology, if you're in a city, PMF, the light technologies, the bioenergetics can be great modern solutions to be able to support that sense of keeping the body battery charged. Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, because when you look at lifespan and you look at it by geographic region, city people live a little less, right? It's a lot of like pollution, light, and 5G, Wi-Fi.
Exposure, yeah. I mean, those are emerging things I continue to hear about, what the impact of that on the system, and how do we how can we continue to take care in this modern world? And I think that's where the education, the awareness, the communities that are building and forming together of wanting, seeing the possibility that we can live a vibrant, healthy life.
Right.
I think, the three real like fundamentals of the human spirit is food, shelter, and companionship. And within that, how do we continue to open up those possibilities for people and tell those stories? I think the essence of a human being here to be on a podcast together, we're storytellers.
Absolutely.
We learn so much from each other, and that's why I love to listen to people, to hear what they're experiencing in their life, and compared to going to the doctor and having that 5 minutes where they're just getting through and they're on their schedules. I mean, there's things to shift and evolve there. I think there's so much possibility that it's a paradigm shift of moving from sick care to actually what is healthcare, what is health span, and how can we be more preventative by understanding this access into supporting that illumination of somebody's vitality.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift, right? Especially with RFK. This is the first time I remember government really getting involved in health like this.
I think it's an exciting time. I mean, he's been a contribution in his own challenges to stand up. I mean, for leaders to choose to go against the grain of what naturally things are going to have pushback and
powerful enemy for sure.
Yeah.
Same with you though. It's a brave mission you're on.
Yeah, well, thank you. And when I got started teaching yoga to then teach, after spending years traveling with Wim Hof and teaching breathwork and cold immersion, when I first got into it, I was the first ever certified Wim Hof method instructor in New England at the time. And it was so exciting because I'm so passionate about it. And as I started putting workshops out there, my friends and community, they were seeing me posting on Instagram, hiking a mountain with no shirt on or getting into the frozen rivers. And they're like, what is Sam doing? Like it's a different way of living and engaging with nature in these ways that for some people think is like, whoa, that's uncomfortable. I could never do that. But I also acknowledge that's something beautiful about what Wim's mission has been, from his story and how he's progressed and went from a circus freak to a scientific breakthrough, and his own conviction and his mission to want to help people be strong, happy, and healthy.
Yeah.
And, my mission has always been to make these types of practices, tools, modalities accessible and approachable to everybody. And indeed, in those early days, with my excitement of wanting to share with others, to more so be an invitation to that and not forcing it on anybody. I love that phrase. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
So true.
And just being able to listen to somebody, be present, continue on my own conviction of what I feel in myself by doing these practices and choosing how I live my life. And that ends up becoming contagious.
Oh yeah.
And, you're making choices to live your life in a certain way, and people notice that, and then they start to recognize, oh, you have that. I want that too. And sometimes it takes a certain, drastic thing to happen, whether it's an accident or some chronic thing that comes up. And wow, for how hard we can spend our whole lives trying to accumulate wealth and be in that grind 9 to 5 and just fully immersed in like building a career that actually can end up becoming so deleterious on our health that we spend the latter parts of our lives after we've accumulated that wealth and have to spend all our money to have our health.
See that all the time.
Wow. It's like the heart of the matter to recognize like how precious life is and to choose to live it fully. We can get so distracted and pulled into these things that are impacting our perception of what's possible. And I think that's where community and creating platforms to share these stories and being there for others and choosing to be there for yourself too, put your oxygen mask on first, and then you can be able to serve and support others too.
Absolutely. That's why nature is so important too, because you just feel so present whenever you're there. I got to hear about some of these journeys you had with Wim.
We've had some fun. Well, to that point, though, just being in nature, it's amazing that even in Japan, doctors prescribe people to just go out into nature.
I've heard that. That's really cool. I've never heard of someone doing that over here. We need to take some of that for sure. You feel so just grounding. You can almost feel it, when you're grounding outside in some grass. It feels amazing.
They say touch grass these days.
Yeah. It's hard to get some out in Vegas, but I go to like the dirt path, I guess, out here.
The desert energy is unique. The dryness, it's wild to then feel that heat, but then at night and how it gets cold.
Yeah. Were you scared or nervous on the first journey with Wim? Like, what were you feeling mentally?
It's exciting and fun to be around Wim. He's so charismatic, and I remember the first time being with him physically in person, like just such a force of nature. You can see that in him. And my first thought when I did lay eyes on him was like, wow, thinking of his ascent to the death zone, Mount Everest, wearing just shorts and no oxygen. And yeah, we've had some unique adventures from our time in Colorado hiking, and the exposure hike is a really traditional thing in the Wim Hof practice, going out in shorts, or for women, sports bra, and exposed to the elements, and just going out for a hike and connecting to nature in that way. And we were with our group with the Wim Hof Academy doing our final portion of a training, and we went to do the exposure hike that day. And the whole group, we all circled up to get ready, did some horse stance and built some energy up together. And as we started on the trail, Wim took his shoes off, and here we are at like 11,000 feet in Colorado, hiking to the Broom Hut, which is outside of Winter Park. And he did the entire hike barefoot.
What?
We were trudging through snow up over our knees.
Oh my gosh.
And we were outside for quite a long time doing this ascent. And then at the top, we even did exposure into like a spring that was still trickling. That water was like below freezing.
Whoa.
And the whole time out there exposed just in shorts, and to consider Wim did that entire thing barefoot. I love to do barefoot hikes and go out in the snow and just engage with that cold on my feet.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. I'd like to put on that Baja Men Who Let the Dogs Out song. I think it's, you got to let the dogs free a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call the feet. But just, imagine, and to think, for Wim to show that, it's not the mind, the sky isn't the limit, it's the mind. And that's been a huge part of what he's pioneered to show people.
Wow.
And to consider, it's like with the 4-minute mile. We perceive something to not be possible until someone does it, and then there's this domino effect of that portal of possibility opening. And so different visionaries and leaders and people who have done these feats kind of allow us to stretch our minds and step into a place of, wow, well, what's possible for me then?
Yeah. Limiting beliefs, right? It happens in every aspect of life. I remember when he got injected with that disease and he breathed it out. That was like mind-blowing to me.
That was a exciting time in science at Radboud University, when they were ultimately studying thousands of people and the immune response and injecting them with the endotoxin. And Wim then came along saying, well, I can self-regulate. I have the ability. The autonomic nervous system can be consciously regulated or controlled. And so he went into the laboratory setting, and the paper was published in early 2000s, voluntary activation of this autonomic nervous system and attenuation of the innate immune system in humans. And it was quite a breakthrough study, and a huge, Wim loves the science, and that was a big snowball effect to then look, wow, we've been able to take these ancient practices, breath work, cold immersion, power of the mind, into this framework to see that we actually can impact our physiology in this way and attenuate the inflammatory response, and naturally what would come up with an injection of a dead bacteria in the body, to have that flu-like symptom as everyone else had experienced in that cohort. And he had maybe a minor headache for a moment.
Crazy.
But just through utilizing breath, and as we talked about earlier, breath stimulating your way of being, it's a direct link, it's a key into the autonomic nervous system. And through those specific patterns, sort of ramping the system up into a sympathetic innervation, which is deploying a little noradrenaline and thus mechanistically impacting the way that inflammation is dampened. You have those anti-inflammatory responses that then
Mm.
dip into that flu-like response.
Phenomenal. Have you been able to get to that point with your breathwork training?
Well, I practice breath and on a daily level. I think once you see something, you can't not see it. So an awareness to breath is always a starting point in my perspective. Having an awareness of breath as a movement, as a breath as a behavior, what pathways you're utilizing throughout the day, understanding your state of being, and am I in the state that I want to be in? And if not, then how can I shift that? And breath for me is a direct access into doing so. With deeper breath journeys like a Wim Hof practice or transformational kind of connected breathing patterns, they are very, and indeed quite psychophysiological. We're shifting chemistry, we're shifting neural activity in the brain. There's emerging studies that are looking at connected breathing in this way to a psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
You see that with groups where there's emotional release. Sometimes you see colors or things come to you, whether they be downloads or how we're tapping into these deeper parts of the brain and the deeper parts of ourselves. You don't have to do a breath practice like that every day. Maybe it's once a month. But for me, there's a baseline of different breath practices. I think strong breathing muscles, to what we spoke about earlier, is an important part of a daily practice.
Yeah. I've seen one breath work. I don't know what it's called, but you take one breath a minute. And apparently after like 20, 30 minutes, you just start hallucinating.
Just slow regulated pattern and dropping into like just these deeper physiological states, these deeper mental states.
And people have reported they hallucinate more off that than like a psychedelic.
Yeah.
That's how strong it is.
Yeah. The literature and the anecdotal experiences are there. I mean, breath is real and people are feeling that, connecting to it. It's been inspiring and exciting to see that wave continue to build and, the continued research that's happening. I was just down in Virginia last month with some friends and mentors in the breath neurobiology field. And it's amazing to consider. So Dr. Jack Feldman, who's at UCLA, he's really the godfather of breathing neurobiology. He's become a close friend over the years. And he's accredited with discovering the neural origins of breathing. It's called the pre-Botzinger complex, and it's in the brainstem. And it's this cluster of neurons that send a burst signal. It's the inspiratory signal that then communicates down to the phrenic nerve to contract the diaphragm. And that was discovered back in 1980.
Wow.
Mid-1980s. So now an understanding of where these neural activities are happening, the way it's projecting up into different layers of the brain with cognition, with emotion, with fear, and also top down, the way cognition, emotion, and fear and all of these pieces of how we're engaging with the day-to-day are impacting then that brainstem region. And they're just now starting to look into what are these internal mechanisms. So again, science takes time, but from the spiritual side of breathing practice to the scientific, it's coming together, and the curiosity for people to now integrate and embody that into their lives, into their selves.
That's beautiful. Have you ever had an experience like that, like a psychedelic experience or out of body or anything?
I love doing a deeper breathing practice with a group.
Yeah.
I practice on my own as well. And yeah, I mean, there's unique experiences that come up of one time, this was interesting. I was doing a kind of connected round with a friend and very vividly like that, the Eye of Horus came, and I saw that in when my eyes were closed and everything, or sometimes you see colors and connection to just deeper sense of purpose. And to me, it's a feeling of beauty and aliveness. It's humbling to be able to surrender. How easy it is to grapple with like who we are, who we think we're going to be, what we want to have happen in our lives. And I think the breath is humbling in that it gives you an opportunity to practice letting go.
Yeah.
And through feeling that, it's such a beautiful and meaningful moment of just being yourself. And something I like to say in this realm of transformation and the psychological side of things, the physiological, the way these tools create that connection with ourself, and what feels exciting in that process of transformation is that acceptance and getting to know you and surrendering into who you are as a person. And then that illumination that comes through of it in recognizing and being you. There's nothing cooler than being yourself. And that's like a mantra that I've always anchored from and has come through in a breathing practice. Like, wow, just be yourself.
Yeah. Being authentic is the best way to live, in my opinion. Because I've lived not authentically growing up, just trying to fit in with people. And it was just a tough lifestyle, living in lies.
Yeah.
Because then you gotta keep up with them, and it's just like never ending. But now I love it. As a podcast host, I get to just be myself.
Yeah, have meaningful conversations, learning, connecting, to just be here and be an open book and share yourself. Like that sets other people free. And that's something I think now we see people on social media, we see people out in the world doing their thing, living their life, living their dream. And we can get inspired by them, but then maintaining and staying anchored to who we are.
Right.
Sharing that light with others.
Absolutely. Yeah. What you said about surrendering is important too. Because anytime someone has a bad psychedelic experience, it's because they can't let go.
Yeah. What you resist persists.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while to get to that point because I was like a control freak, like a micromanager. And it doesn't work, man. I was stressed out of my mind trying to control everything. Yeah. Certain things you can't control.
We can use so much energy doing that. And think back to this whole framework as well, thinking about the autonomic nervous system. And there's so many humans that are in that chronic stress state. I mean, we get up, we've got the hustle, the grind, we're in cities and there's traffic, and we wake up and immediately, maybe we check Instagram or we look at the market or whatever we're doing. And immediately there's that stimulus to move into sympathetic innervation. And we're living in this redlined chronic state all through the day. And then maybe we use stimulus to then crash and go to sleep. And just the impact that then has on our psychophysiology, on our state of being, and our perception of ourselves and the world. And how do we find that sense of oscillation to be able to move through the day, have alertness and focus, and then find calm. And even to that sense of parasympathetic within our physiology, like that's where we heal. That's where we recover, how we rejuvenate. And I think it's a sense of feeling, to what we were talking about of authenticity and being ourselves. That's also, it's a vulnerable place, but that is how we heal. And that's a huge part of that is also this felt sense of safety.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to be careful what you're reliant on. I went through a little coffee phase, and, that was rough. I started just drinking it every day for a couple of weeks, and then I started getting these heart palpitations, and it wouldn't go.
Like a flutter.
Yeah, it wouldn't go away. I was like, "What the heck?" I even got a scan. I went to like some psychics, some spiritual people, and it didn't go away until I cut it out. I was going through like withdrawal or something. I don't know.
Too much caffeine.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are external tools. Coffee, for example, caffeine as a stimulant that we can maybe overuse. I enjoy coffee. I love coffee for like the ritual of it in the morning. Similarly, cacao, mixing that. What are these little rituals that can be part of our day? There's indeed literature and continued conversation on how we're engaging with those stimulants.
Yeah.
Maintaining that sense of natural balance in ourselves, that Mother Nature and our body is so intelligent that we want to track a natural oscillation and a natural rhythm. So waking up and immediately going to a stimulant like caffeine can throw that rhythm off. And we're sort of nudging ourselves out of that natural balance. I prefer to wake up, put my bare feet on the ground, catch natural light, as that's impacting these circadian rhythm and all the layers within that. For example, even starting the morning with a cold immersion. That's a natural cold shock stimulus. To our circadian rhythm, our body tracks a temperature rhythm with that. And in the morning at about 4 a.m. is kind of the coldest setting of the body. And then it starts to build up. We get a little shot of cortisol naturally. That's putting us into a more awake state. And as the body temperature is rising through the day, that's what's tracking with the circadian rhythm. So there's little pieces that you can add to that, and touch grass, do some breath, get natural light in your eye, or do it, and perhaps also add in doing a cold shower or a cold immersion. Because if you take on the cold stimulus in the morning, you're dropping the core temp and turning on the thermogenic capacity to then track with what the body's natural rhythm would be doing and helping to facilitate and, if you will, nurture that natural circadian rhythm. Similarly, on the other end of the spectrum, at mid-afternoon, we're starting to drop off in body temperature. And if you engage with something like a hot bath, or I know we were talking about sauna earlier, heat stimulus at night can be very impactful, because if you're heating the body, you naturally then, it's sort of the inverse, you're overheating deliberately, but then the body adapts and responds to that by offloading heat. So you're sort of helping to facilitate then the dropping of body temperature and tracking that natural.
Right. Yeah, they say a warm shower before bed can help you sleep, right?
Yeah. I think I personally enjoy that. I do like cold at night too sometimes. But from more of that physiological perspective, cold in the morning and heat at night seem to be how we can support and facilitate that natural rhythm.
Yeah, I definitely need to improve my morning routine, because right now I wake up, go on my phone, and then I feed my dogs, and then go on my computer.
Natural. I'm guilty of it, Sean. I enjoy looking at different things and popping up in the morning, but there becomes that awareness of, okay, I know these certain habits or patterns that I engage with, and how can I be able to deliberately create framework that maybe even sets me up for more success, to have some space for a ritual of getting natural light, letting your body start to naturally come online, and then engage with those other things. I mean, it's so easy to wake up and just go right to
so easy.
There's times that I have it right next to my bed, and that's my own practice of creating some space with that technology.
Yeah, they're damn addicting. So how many Lūmați Centers are there, and where are they at right now?
So Lumati's flagship is in Encinitas, California, and that's where we have our core offerings. And we also have a center down in Tijuana, Mexico, which is at a beautiful hospital facility. That's where we're doing some of our clinical trials with the blood filtering technology. And then going into 2025, that will be more available to general public. And so Lumati's currently in Encinitas, and we're on a whole process over the next few years to be scaling across the world, from across the United States to overseas in Asia, into Dubai, all over the world. That's the aim of what we're doing with our scaling and bringing this whole stack and all of this technology to the world.
I can't wait to visit, man. I'm going to document
let's
the
get
journey.
to Encinitas. We'll take you through the whole biostasis stack with, again, the biometrics, get you through the bioenergetic scan, our non-invasive technologies to kind of take that blueprint and get the starting point, and then experience, if you'd like, or come do the blood filtering. And
have you done it yet?
I haven't done that. I have not done it yet, but I'll be there next week to go see everything.
Okay.
We've had amazing clinical results thus far.
Nice.
Consider with what we're seeing with the data and what the filter has the capacity to do. There was an individual who had HSV, herpes.
Whoa.
With constant outbreaks weekly, and they did the filter, and they haven't had an outbreak since.
What?
Yeah.
So is that because it's in the blood and it's just cycling through the body that causes outbreaks?
It's like it's a subtractive technology. So if you think in medicine, subtractive technologies are like amputations or taking out an organ, and this is a non-amputation subtraction where it's over the course of 3 to 4 hours, it's circulating the blood through this filter over 10 times, and it's taking all of those organic and inorganic compounds that are in the blood and binding it into these little beads that are inside.
That's so exciting, because people are getting ages 0 to 18 now, 72 vaccines. So some technology like this could help with that, right?
Yes. So actually it was deployed during the pandemic, and it had emergency use care in the hospitals, and people who are on ventilators and dying from high viral loads of the COVID virus. It's removing that from the blood. So a lot of patients are coming in who have long COVID symptoms, and we're able to remove spike proteins and COVID as well. So it's a very broad spectrum of the utility around how it can impact and support people. We really look at it in a metaphor like a car. For somebody who's a longevity, passionate about their wellness and longevity, just like a car, you get an oil change every so many miles. So once a year, you could come in and get an oil change. If then your check engine light's on, maybe you have an acute or a chronic symptom showing up, somebody with Lyme's disease, somebody with a bacteria, or whatever it may be, that you come in for the check engine light, you can have the filter. And then on the far end of the spectrum are individuals who are in very chronic, the car's broken down, maybe they have metastatic cancer, and it's an adjunct and support to their other therapies. But from what we're seeing with the data, that its ability to remove those CTCs, that it's very impactful and supportive. It's a reset for the system, so that if you have circulating tumor cells running through your entire body, like the immune system's firing and using so much energy to try to battle that, and if we can just take them all out, then it can redeploy the energy to other sites.
Incredible, yeah, because the body is so powerful; it could heal itself, right? If you program it the right way. That's what I'm learning.
It's intelligence. It knows how to adapt and what to do, and I think that's where, with chronic stress and exposure to all of these things in our lives and our environments, that we're not able to allow the system to reset, to heal.
Right.
And, that's where we're seeing this proliferation of autoimmune and just people's lives and the suffering that they're experiencing. And we can be able to now deploy these really simple and unique technologies, from the filter to full spectrum light therapy to good water, to the hydrogen bath, to hydrogen inhalation, the bioenergetic scans. And, that's the beginning of the journey. I think from that point, though, what's also important, Sean, is, you go have that experience at Lumati, it's like a recharging for the body, a cellular recharging station. And then that's just the beginning. If we have the awareness, then how can we continue to take the steps and embed that into our daily behaviors and our habits and create it as part of a lifestyle?
Right. I love it, man. Well, Sam, where can people find you? Anything else you want to close off with before we wrap up?
Yeah. Well, to that point, that's what I think what's unique and interesting from the filter side to then what we're building within our stack, which we're calling the longevity recharging station. And to consider it being like, there's Tesla recharging stations around the country. You're driving your car around, you need to recharge. And that's really what we're deploying now with the longevity recharging station, is the stack of all of these different technologies together. Think of walking into your own unique phone booth where you have 10 wavelength spectrum light to charge the cells. You're standing on a micro impact plate that's going to help improve circulation, activate stem cells. You're inhaling hydrogen, and then you're taking in some of our unique supplementation. And these are at different centers across the world, in your hometown, in your home, for those that are able to have that deployed into their home. And on a daily basis, you're able to engage with this baseline technology that's supporting that biostasis for you. So excited for the forefront of continued evolution and innovation and really contribution to humanity, and how we can continue to outlive our best lives, our optimal lives, and be that remembering of what is illuminated vitality, and really serve others and hit our goal of 1 billion lives transformed and impacted by 2035.
I would love that, man.
Being here with you and sharing and building awareness around this is a step into that contribution. So
absolutely,
I appreciate your openness and the invitation to be here, and the leadership that it takes to and the choice to live that life, and the curiosity and the seeing of the beauty that's out there in the world and within us, and we can be but mirrors for each other to see clearer and be able to, as we continue navigating through the journey of life and taking on the hardships and all the things that happen to us out of nowhere, that remember the preciousness of life, and that's what we can be for each other.
Boom.
So.
I love it, man. We'll link the stuff below. I think we're going to demonstrate one of your products at my event one of these days too.
Yeah,
so stay tuned for that, guys.
Excited to deploy those, bring it to the world. And yeah, people can find me on Instagram at Whiting Energy, at Lumati Life. Come into the clinic, come check us out, and or deploy this and bring it into your home. We have a suite of offerings that, again, to that whole base of making it accessible to the world. So
amazing. Yeah, check it out, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next time.